An introverted genius chef, his no-nonsense sister, and his stubborn girlfriend all deal with the closing of their bar Shibo after Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. Of course, Jon Taffer is here to save the day, but can he do it? We answer that question right after this.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bar Rescue After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. As always, I am joined by my fearless leader, Captain Keven Undergaro.
Jeff Graham, a.k.a. Jeff Scam.
Jeff Scam, I'm glad to be here. You guys know us, you love us. We cover Bar Rescue here every week, but it's been a minute since we've been here.
It's been a minute.
Feels good to be back, though.
It's so good to be back.
Yes, we are covering Season 6, Episode 25 today, you guys. That episode is called The Lights Come Back in Puerto Rico. If this is your first time tuning in, we're an after show, so what we do is we cover the episodes of Bar Rescue that air on Sunday nights on Paramount Network, not Spike. I keep wanting to say Spike.
Yes, it's Paramount now.
Different, a little brand. We can talk about Paramount's branding because I don't think we've talked since Yellowstone came out on the network and kind of changed the game. That was that.
They want to become like an HBO.
Yeah, they're trying.
Which everybody does. I mean, I feel like FX is the model.
Yeah, I
that
agree.
Everyone's trying to chase.
Yes.
But whatever.
But we are talking about Bar Rescue today, of course. We'll not only be talking about the episode, but we also have our Taffer Takeaway, you guys. We've got some Bar Rescue updates, and we bring you all the news and gossip here on the Bar Rescue After Show. Kev, as I mentioned, this is Season 6, Episode 25, The Lights Come Back in Puerto Rico. This is our second Hurricane Maria recovery episode.
Right.
How did you feel about this episode, and how did you feel about it being our comeback after a long hiatus?
I wasn't happy that this was the hiatus comeback.
I have to agree.
You know, I feel like they should have been back-to-back Puerto Rico episodes because that's when Puerto Rico was hot. The hurricane, I'm saying, was a hot topic, and I know Jon was so proud of the work that he did there, and rightfully so, that I would have liked. I think I would like to have seen it in the last batch, and I think, we should have come out of the gate with something else. But I mean, it's an amazing episode because it's Bar Rescue. It's like never. I've never seen a bad Bar Rescue, but at the same time, I'm a little too soft for me, and plus it felt like a repeat beat. I
agree with you. It's funny, because on one hand, I did really like the episode. Actually, I brought some media to speak to my reaction to the episode for YouTube listeners. If you can see, there's a little tear in my eye in this photo.
Oh, no way.
This is when they first applauded for Jonathan, and then there's another photo as well. That's when they found out they had the generator at the restaurant. So,
yeah,
I was very moved.
What? Something? I think 80% of these episodes always make me tear up. And I thought it was just me. But I do like the episodes where you see like this, where they just love where they work, what they do, and who they work for to that point. Like Little Maria, you could just tell was like she just loved it so much. She was, to me, the most interesting character in this episode because I do feel like we saw a heart change from her. There was a bit of a stubborn, dare I say, Bostonian quality. Totally. Why was she?
No, she's not, but I just know you are.
Well, yeah, she just had a lot of the but, but under it all meant so well, but just super defensive. And I think when you go to Bar Rescue updates, some of the negativity that they got hurled at them, it makes a little bit of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
think he's so sweet. The chef, Jon, is so sweet, and the sister's so sweet too. I think they're so nice that they probably need somebody to be a little prickly, which is Maria, but because they're nice people, they're gonna, even if they're gonna be with someone prickly, they're gonna be somebody who's, I think, nice deep down.
I agree. I found the characters to be interesting this episode, and I'm excited to dive into it. But I have to agree with you a little bit, just in terms of the timing of this episode. As much as I loved it, I think when you come back after a long hiatus, you need an off-the-wall addict who needs their ass beat.
You gotta get one of my wackadoodles. Yeah. One of my bar. I need. God. How many minutes in? All right, Pirates. This is my first Pirates reference. I need a Pirates. I need a Wonder Bar. I need a cockroach guy. I need one of ours. But the problem is Jon's done so many of these.
Right.
I just swear to God, he's had enough. He's not had enough for the show. He's had enough of the ungrateful addict who he gives his heart and soul to. And then they just make an asshole out of him and burn the place down the minute he leaves, or like I know with the pirate people, they did a big effigy of all the. I mean, like, and yeah, you're laughing and I'm laughing, but even with Jon, like it's taken him years to appreciate pirates, but he's still deep down, it's just
PTSD.
Yeah, well, because he has such passion.
Right.
Such passion for, like, I'm going to make this bar amazing. And when someone makes mock, I'm laughing because it is hilarious.
It's hard.
And it makes it even funny to see him get so upset. But, I mean, I love him personally, as does, I think, anyone who's a fan of the show.
Of course.
And he's 60, I really could see a blood vessel bursting at some point.
Right.
Which isn't worth it.
Of course.
But, man, if we can just get him... I don't know if I can get him a masseur or something. I don't know, to calm him down afterwards.
Yeah.
Like
Yoga.
Yeah, yoga, something. But I just can't get enough of the freaks and the maniacs.
Well, the good news is, Kev, I do think at next episode, I don't know if you saw that preview.
Oh, they look amazing.
They look amazing.
See, when we by the way, so we have to reference when we say amazing, it's one thing, but we say amazing, AH-MAZING, then you get something special.
You get something special. I really have to quickly shout Kevin out. That comes from his brilliant other podcast, The Tomorrow Show, which you guys have to check out. It's on Wednesday nights. It's one of the funniest and weirdest shows I've ever seen, and I mean that in the best way. Even it compares to weirdness in Bar Rescue, and that's a high compliment, Kevin.
It's so funny. We're in Star Trek costumes as we do the show, and I just think of whatever bar I would create, and Jon would just... We've talked about it. We've talked about doing a bar, and he said he would do one with me if I did it. And I have a concept similar to a sports bar, but for another area. And he was like, that could work, buddy. That could work. And he immediately goes brainstorming ideas on how to do it. But I'm nervous to do it because I don't know if I want to get Taffered.
Yeah, he would. I bet he would Taffer you a little bit.
He'd have to.
You know what? The thing is, though, Taffer always knows what he's doing. He would Taffer you in the best way you would need. Because you Kevin me sometimes, and it's in the way I need to get Kevin.
Yes.
He would Taffer you in the way you need to get Taffer.
Yeah, and I think, he and Maria would because me and Maria do things very differently. She's much more pragmatic and frugal, and I'm not. And but there's times where that's short-sighted.
Right.
And then there's times, where, it's wasteful. And like Jon would probably be the one to call it. Bringing it back to this episode, though, speaking of being, practical, them leaving this place like this for so long. Now, do you think, Jeff, and I guess this is a question I should try to answer, but do you think that the producers and Jon were so desperate to find a story here that they harped on that more, along with him not coming out of the kitchen to greet his people? Because, like, they were having a hard time finding fault, or having some kind of conflict. Because at the other Puerto Rico thing, the conflict was the elements.
Right.
The place was so destroyed, and it was the community was in such shambles. This one, as he said, 14 ceiling tiles. It wasn't as much physical damage of the hurricane, and I was wondering if he was just trying to find something. What do you think?
I had the same thought, but I actually think it was a valid point. I think it might be a mix of the two, where they did need some material to produce, but I also think Jon was tapping into something that I felt this family needed. And I think if it wasn't so much a laziness, it was the inability to re-explore an area associated with trauma, which he eventually got to, right? He said, I don't know if this is a laziness problem, but I can tell this has taken a huge emotional toll on you. Because I felt like it was, rather than, the family not wanting to reopen the bar of laziness, I think it's that they didn't want to reopen the wound.
Maybe they were just so spooked.
That's kind of the impression I got, because there were even moments throughout the episode where, with Jonathan, who of course is the chef, Gabriella, who's his investor sister, and Maria, who is his stubborn but heart of gold manager.
Right.
I felt with the three of them, sometimes you could see that there was a little bit of PTSD. Like, I think some of the light had been taken out of their eyes because of what happened to them.
Yeah.
And so I do think the show, even if it was maybe overproducing their lack of agency with this bar, there was something there, is what I think. Yeah,
I think there's something to the lack of urgency. And again, because he's so nice, he's a little passive too.
Yes.
Clearly an artist, And by the way, beautiful looking guy and sister.
Yeah.
And Maria was pretty too.
It was an attractive crew.
Yeah. But Yeah, I feel like, he didn't have, I could see that. Yeah, so it probably was a real problem. I mean, I know me, like, my God, like for just some Windex and towels and, that place in 2 days would have been right back. But if they didn't have money for stock and things like that, I mean, who's to say?
Well, Kev, I did kind of see you this episode. You're friends with Taffer, and sometimes I can see the way that you two influence each other, and I think you would have handled this the same way. Like, let's say, God forbid, but something happened with AfterBuzz, and you were on vacation and you came back. You would be gracious with us to a point, but also kick us into high gear. You always say you got to keep the nickel shiny. Yeah. And I think you would see that in us, and I think you have the same kind of approach with these types of things.
I would have walked in for sure. I guess I would have. I would have walked in and said, what are we talking about?
Right.
Like, really? Like, we're talking about some tiles and a little paint and mopping. You wouldn't even clean the kitchen?
Right.
Okay, so fine. You're not, like, okay, I understand not reopening, but wouldn't you clean everything and get everything back in the right order? Can we talk about that kitchen? Oh. I mean, I think, here's the other thing. Like, I'm always into the bar rescue superlatives. And I wish Dorinda and some of the other AfterBuzz bar rescue hosts are here, and Nicole, because they probably would help me with this. But I don't know if I've seen a more infested kitchen.
A lot of live animals in there.
Yes.
A lot of life.
And ironic, since it wasn't a bad, it wasn't a disgusting bar and restaurant like we've seen. But as far as that kitchen for being neglected, I don't think I've ever seen so many insects and so many... It
was bad.
So much just food just left out. Yeah.
Well, and they owned up to it, too. And that's the thing is, I think if it was being overproduced, they wouldn't have owned up as quickly, but they got in there and they're like, he's right. We should have gotten in here. And it's like some of it was excusable. Like some broken equipment, that's one thing.
I understand that. Yeah, but
rotten bok choy sitting on the bottom shelf of your stove.
I just think anytime you're hit with a problem in life, the best thing to do is be proactive. Now, there's times there are some times where you just can't do anything, and that's the worst kind of torture.
Yeah.
But man, roll your sleeves up and just attack the problem. Try. You'll just feel better for trying.
Right.
But when you just leave it there like that, so I guess when I think of the kitchen, I think that the fight was his argument was legit.
And we always talk about with Jon, whether or not his argument was exactly right, it was exactly what they needed, and he has the ability to pinpoint how to motivate people. And this kicked this crew into high gear. So, of course, as we mentioned, when we see their the restaurant where they had used to work, it did need the cleanup. But the interesting thing is, in this episode, we already had a great cook and great cocktails. So the problem wasn't so much fixing.
Rare.
I know.
And again, compliments to the production team on Bar Rescue, because I like that the show still surprises me. They're not afraid to get by the form of like, hey, you know what? These drinks are actually really good. I really like the look of it. It's very refreshing, and it's this, and I like the mix. And the same with the food. So I like that. Normally on these kind of shows, Jeff, it's always they have to hate the food. They have to hate the service. They have to hate the drinks, and I like it. I like that. No, this is actually pretty good.
It adds a level of credibility when you're a viewer, because you think if they do that, they must be telling the truth when it does suck.
Yeah.
So after we see the location and, realize that the big move here is to just get this place clean, and we might be in better shape than we thought. We, of course, have the debrief, and we find out that Gabriella is not only $150,000 in debt, but that the loan isn't on the business, it's on her personally. Yeah. That was a big realization.
Oh, yeah.
Did that surprise you? Or
no, because oftentimes when you're in a shaky business, that's the only way you can get the loan, because they know that.
Yeah.
You're going to wake up, sorry, bitches, we're bankrupt, peace. And then, the banker is left holding the note.
Yeah.
Or they get the restaurant or whatever. But no, when they have you on the hook, it's different. It's different. So I'm not surprised. But I felt bad. I also thought it was interesting, too, that Jon said, you guys deserve help. And he almost copped to the fact that some of the people that get rescues don't.
He did. He actually literally did. He said I think he said verbatim, like, a lot of the people I help, they don't really deserve this, but you guys actually do. Which you can tell. The facade is slowly coming down, isn't it, Jon? Just little by little. But as a viewer, again, you've got to do these things, because we're almost 200 episodes in, and keeps the show fresh.
One of the bar rescues Maria Menounos and I did was, we've done now 4 or 5 of the rescues with Jon. One of the ones we did was this guy Rick down in somewhere here in LA or toward the beach area, and it was a wine place, and I'll never forget when it didn't make it to the final edit, but John said to Maria and I, he's like, "This is it's kind of weird because it's actually a bar rescue owner who is likable. Like, he's actually a nice guy." And I was like, oh my God. And I'm saying to myself as a fan, as he's saying it, like, oh my God, what an unbelievable things to say. And, Spike cut it.
Well, if it was this season, maybe not.
Yeah, no.
Well, after we have this discussion, we get the place cleaned up, it's time for us to learn some new recipes, new food, new drink to set us up for the stress test. Our helpers and leaders here are Anthony Lamas, who we've seen before.
Oh, yeah, he's great. Great with this kind of Latin cuisine.
Yeah. But then...
By the way, it's just interesting because this is Latin...
Asian.
Super
cool.
But think about it, any country you're going to want variety. You go to Greek, you're going to get you go to Greece, you're going to get Italian or Chinese, or so it makes sense. Why wouldn't Mexico have sushi?
Definitely. And the first example of sushi we saw was like a mango habanero sushi.
Yeah,
it sounds so good. All this food looked great.
Yeah.
So the food that we get from Anthony is this kind of shrimp mofongo topped with green onions and some jalapeno and togarashi spices, which I hadn't even ever heard of. But have you had mofongo before, Kevin?
No.
It's really good.
No.
Did you know I lived in Puerto Rico for like 3 months?
Jeff Goy?
I don't know if
Puerto Rico?
Yeah. Well,
why? A cruise ship?
This is the cruise ship. Yeah, we were porting there.
I forget the dark times of Jeff Graham's cruise ship singing.
There were some dark times during that 6 months.
Jeff, never mind. Why are we doing a show about you and the cruise ship?
There's some stuff there.
I think it's a party down show. All
right. There's some stuff there.
Right.
We'll talk. We'll keep you guys posted on that one. But I had a lot of mofongo when I was living in Puerto Rico, so this looked really good. And I think the thing I loved about this moment was watching Anthony and Jon work together. You could tell Anthony really respected Jon as a chef. And a lot of times we get bar owners or cooks who aren't as much chefs. They're more like, I know how to flip burgers on a grill. But Jonathan is a real chef.
He's a real deal. Like he's, he doesn't have the experience of Chef Lamas, but he's right there with him. He's a true chef.
And it felt almost like a collaboration watching them work together.
Which was fun. And again, I love this because I don't think I've seen that before.
No, because this is almost more of a restaurant than it is a bar, which is interesting.
Yes.
And I really feel like this is the first time we saw Jonathan sort of light up. I feel like up until now he was kind of reserved and shy. But when he was working with...
Because that's his passion.
Exactly. So that was really fun.
Right. He's an artist. That's his passion is food.
I was almost lukewarm on Jon until this moment.
Really? Why would you be...
I didn't dislike him. I just didn't really get him. And it's because we hadn't gotten to see him...
Here's the thing. I liked him and the sister from the beginning, and I was happy for him, but I'm like, please, can then someone from Pirates walk in? Can One-Eyed Mike from Pirates please come in?
Can one of them have a second wife? Can one of them
something?
They're adopted. Something.
I'm like, but whatever.
So I liked this, and it was fun to see more of a collaboration rather than it was a cool moment. I think
it was cool.
Then in terms of drinks, we have Rob Floyd, who is known for his modern molecular creations.
Yeah, we've seen him before too.
Like Rob a lot. I particularly like the way he breaks his cocktail. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I'll do it visually for you YouTube viewers.
He
shakes the cocktail and then elbows it.
And knocks it off.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, when you think, so for me, the big three will always be Mia, Lisa Marie, and Phil Wills.
Yeah.
Will always be the big three of the mixologists. But I have to say, man, I've rarely been disappointed with the other people that have come on. Yeah, this guy, I like him.
He was good. I was doing some research. He does cocktail shows, which looked interesting. So we should try to get him on the show.
It's such a whole new world.
Yeah.
Bar, from bartending to mixology.
Yeah.
Which is cool, I think.
It is.
I like it. And again, because the millennials, you guys are about experience. So I think it's, you don't want it. For my generation, it was how many drinks can I get down my throat until that last light goes on for last call. And I think for you guys, it's more the experience.
It can be both. I think it's how many drinks can I get creatively down my throat. So it's just as shameful, Kevin, but there's just a hint of narcissism and create. As long as we can social media it out, right? As long as our cocktail's on fire, and we can still have time.
Hey, bitches. All right.
Totally made a new cocktail with my besties.
Yeah.
Okay, so... and the only thing we're worried about with these drinks is that Brian, who I also found to be very endearing, possibly a teenager or at least a very young 20-something.
Yeah, he was more millennial, Gen Z.
Not prepared for this level of cocktail prep. And unfortunately, that showed during the stress test because drinks were the primary issue during this stress test.
Yeah. Well, again, you said it best. Like they were geared around food. It was probably a restaurant with a very small bar. No one's really going in there to booze. It's you're having a couple of drinks before your dinner or with your dinner. And so they're not ready for that. So that's why he would get, stung so bad.
But what I appreciated was Marie hopped right in. And that was also when I got that Bostonian of like, she might pretend that she's defensive.
But deep down,
she's right in there. She's there for the team.
Right.
And she got back behind the bar. And it was interesting, too, because this is when we really pushed Jonathan to get out of his comfort zone and have to network with the customers there. And you could tell Chef Jonathan didn't want to do that, but they pushed him into doing that. And it was really cool to see Jon talking to his customers, describing the recipes he was making, and you could tell even if he was a little introverted.
Again, people like that, huh? Mm-hmm. Like Jeff, I could see you with your wife. You would enjoy a chef coming up.
Oh, for sure.
And greet you.
It's like you're meeting the talent.
And I'm just.
That's not for you.
No, because I'm like I'm such an Italian who just eats like a savage. Yeah. I'm so excited to eat. I'm like, okay, whatever. Get out of my way. I'm excited to devour this. But I find that interesting.
Laura and I are we love it so much. Thank you so much for your.
Yeah. No, my mother's the same way too. Like, oh my God, that's like we met the chef. He was amazing. I guess, but that's. I didn't know that because I just know on The Sopranos when the chef he would come out, the cook, Tony had to tell him to stop.
Oh, I totally forgot. It's been a minute.
Yeah, he was like, stop, just leave people alone. No one wants to hear your stories.
Let me eat my dinner.
Yeah, and it was killing the restaurant. So I was going back to that, but apparently I'm wrong. I guess you and Laura and you got people like you want the chef to come out.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's awesome.
To each their own. Yeah. But what I loved about this was Jon was like, you know what? Drinks aren't keeping up. We've got to shut down the bar. This is Jon Taffer. And then Chef Jon is like, okay, you could tell he didn't want to because he wanted to fix it that night. And he said, well, if we're going to shut it down, just please, we got to, do it tomorrow. So you could tell that was the moment that Chef Jon was in. And when Jon shut down the bar, everyone applauded. And I thought that was a pretty moving moment.
Yeah.
Is that a first?
Yeah. Well, yes, because we've seen applause, but it's been applause for shutting them down because they're so horrible. Yeah. But this kind of applause was like, you know what? They're going to be good. Like, we're behind you. Like, they're excited. Yeah, no, I had never seen it like that.
It's cool.
Which was nice. You're right.
So then the next morning, of course, we have a couple revisions based on the stress test. And the big one is the new cocktail. They're going to go for a cucumber spice rather than this Pinot Habanero drink.
Well, I like what they said, in simpler and quicker cocktails, which I don't know a bar rescue that wouldn't benefit from simpler and quicker because we're always dealing with these green staffs or these miserable staffs. And it's really tough to get them into the intricate drinks. So it's simple and quick.
Do you think, Kev, there's an element of this show where they maybe overcomplicate the pre-stress test drink so that...
Always. Yeah. Yeah, the idea is, and they've admitted that too, Jon and we've had some of the experts on the show, it's a process. Mm-hmm. And they're just literally trying to break you. Yeah. So they can rebuild you.
And that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I liked this little montage because we got to see Brian get his confidence back. And, it's fun to watch some of the veterans cheer on the newcomers. And that's kind of a classic bar rescue moment, and Brian gets his confidence back. I also enjoyed the way this was garnished. They had the half rim with the garnish. I think they did...
I like the half rim. Again, something different.
Yeah, it was nice.
It's always with this show.
So now that we're armed with the new knowledge of this cucumber spice drink, we have the remodel and the reopen. How did you feel about the renovation?
Well, here's the thing. The renovation to me was okay because it was already a pretty nice place. Right. The bigger thing that I watched for was their reactions. Now, this place was just cleaned up a little bit. The equipment was already nice, and things were rearranged and painted and tweaked. It was tweaked. Yeah. But what was meant so much to me was the reactions. Yeah. From Jonathan, for Jon, Maria, and his sister. Mm-hmm. So grateful, so happy, and then that's what struck me. It was like that's how successful people behave. Yeah. If you're a successful person and you get any help, even the smallest help, you're grateful. if you're a narcissistic piece of crap, you know what I mean?
We never see those on barbecue.
No, never. We've seen like some of the most jaw-dropping renovations, buildings literally saved from being demolished, and we've seen owners be like, I don't like mad or disappointed. Right. Yeah, so that was the first thing I noted. And then, out of all of the probably renovations or the remodels, this has probably been, it's not a bad remodel because it looked beautiful when they were done with it, but it looked so good going in that this is probably the smallest jump I can remember.
Yeah, the least dramatic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but it was interesting. He said some of the fixtures he brought in, he was giving it that Nobu look, which I thought was very smart. Are you familiar with Nobu?
Been once. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So Nobu is a very expensive sushi. It's not quite a chain because I'd hate to label it a chain because it's so high end.
Right.
But it's in New York, it's in Vegas, and it's at least probably 10 years from now, it'll be remembered as the place in the early 2000s of everyone going to Nobu.
Right.
Heavily
featured on Entourage, if you guys watched that show.
Yeah.
Ari Gold loves his Nobu.
And then Howard Stern in New York, love their Nobu. So anyway, I thought that was really smart that he gave it a Nobu look, but for Puerto Rico.
That sort of modern Asian, almost like sleek Tokyo Japanese, kind of cool.
Yeah.
The thing I loved that they did, which I was fairly moved by, one of the photos we showed was my reaction to the fact that on the door in Japanese characters, they put the words, "We get up again."
Yeah, I loved it.
Which I thought was pretty moving.
That's John, yeah.
And they were really touched by that.
Yeah. Well, again, you were preaching to the choir in a sense.
Yeah.
So I'm sure this was such an enjoyable remodel for John. And again, happy for everyone. Happy for these guys. Yeah. Happy for John. Get me back my wackadoodles. I want my pirates. I want my cockroach man. I want my Wonder Bar hippie lady. I want, I'm not asking for much.
Yeah. The thing I liked about this episode was on some episodes, John needs to be a drill sergeant. In this episode, he was more like a coach. So it just depends on...
Yeah.
So it was good.
And we also have to mention the generator.
Yeah.
That's a really big deal. And I can't tell you how many people, even in homeowners, don't explore generators.
Yeah.
So we have a house in Connecticut, and power just goes out all the time there. Mm-hmm. So we invested in one that goes on automatically, that's outside, that's hooked up to the propane. And, I actually have one on wheels out here as well. But, it's a small investment. I mean, even the one they bought, that's not even a $1,000 generator.
Wow.
But think about what that'll do. You keep your business going. Literally keep the lights on.
Yeah, I mean, it's that thing where if it pays for one night,
that's right.
It pays for itself.
Well,
right?
I think in business too, one of the things in anything in life is most people are reactive, not proactive. So you always want to be as proactive as possible. I get mad at myself sometimes when it rains here, and I'm dealing with a leak again or something. I'm like, God damn, I know better. Mm-hmm. And in our summer months, why was this not rectified? So you always want to try to be proactive, and I really admire that. Boom, because a lot of times, they're there for 4 days. They don't have time to address every problem. But I love when there's the foresight.
Yep.
And we got you this too. So that was a really big one. That was a big, small, but important.
Kev, I'm going to say that's your Taffer takeaway. In fact, I've got a Taffer takeaway myself. And if you guys didn't know, this is our special segment where we kind of give you what we would say is a sage moment of advice from John. My Taffer takeaway is, I have it written down. It just flew right out of my mind. Oh, the importance of networking. And I know that wouldn't work for you, but I think I could see the customer clientele feeling seen when Jonathan was coming out. And you can be a really, really gifted artist, but if you're not able to sell yourself, your art won't fly.
It's a lot harder. I mean, listen, even in Hollywood and other artists, it's rare you can have the artist who's that shy, quiet, wants to be on the radar, and the art just radiates so strongly that it covers everything. That would be including food.
Right.
But it makes things a lot more difficult if you are not also attaching a personality or some charisma or a name and a face.
Especially when you think about all the famous chefs on TV, obviously they're amazing chefs, but Gordon Ramsay, even Paula Deen, Ina.
Chef Boyardee.
Chef Boyardee. But it's true, all these people carry with them a personality and a magnetism that I think you need if you want to sell your art. So that's what I took away.
I know there's a lot of times, there's a couple of restaurants we go to because we know the chef and we feel a loyalty.
Yeah.
And the chef's wife, you know, that's another great thing too, is if you're a chef, like the chef who, this one sushi chef that we go see all the time, he is such an artist, and he's just always there, just making his magic over the, you know, over the grill and over the in the section he's in. But his wife is the one who's charismatic.
She's the face.
Yeah, she's seating people, and she's familial, and everyone gets a big hug, and she's so. Someone's got to have that. And I've seen, listen, there's a great Italian sandwich shop that's been around since the 40s that is the closest thing to an Italian neighborhood sandwich shop that you might know in Philly or New York or Boston. And yet the personalities of the people running it are so bad. They're so mean and angry that the thing hangs on because the food is so good, but it should have lines out the door. But it's because of that. They're just so miserable.
Right.
But it's so sad because their product is amazing. But if they Jeff, that's also you. You know, here at AfterBuzz, you're the one who is so positive. You're greeting all the right people, you know, and for whatever mistakes you have made, I'm always forgiving of them because you, and Maria is too, because of your personality, and it's so important. And then we have other people here who don't make as many mistakes, but they're growling at people, and it's a very important part of the business.
Goes a long way.
It does. Certainly does.
Well, and with that, speaking of going a long way, let's see where Shibo is now with our news/bar rescue update.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So I was taking a look at this. It looks like you were too, Kev.
Yes.
What I've gathered is that the food at Shibo is still top notch. If there are any complaints about the current status of the new opening, they're still trying to figure out how to keep service and wait times.
But that's because they're too nice.
I need you to explain this.
I just think that the same thing about his personality. He's very nice, Chef Jon, and he's very quiet. He's hiding in the back. Now, I've had people even here at AfterBuzz. We have an outside office and a trailer, and I used to say to some of the guys over here, like, I know you're quiet and you're introverted, but you can't manage out in that office. You need to be here with the people. You need to be on the floor.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense. And because we've seen Maria is tough, but she also goes to her own beat. So no one's like teaching and coaching her to be like that. To me, it makes a lot of sense that the service would be lame because he's too nice.
Right.
Whereas and the sister's not there, but someone needs to be there to be like, come on. Like, I'm making this great food, but it means not, like, I'd be there saying to them, guys, I'm making this amazing food, but it means nothing if it's not, this and the drinks are not delivered in a timely fashion, and people who are coming here to enjoy themselves do not feel as though they're loved, respected, and appreciated. And guess what? It's going to hurt the restaurant to the point we're not going to be able to keep it open, and you're going to lose your jobs, but also you're in the restaurant business, your money is tips. So what are your tips going to be like if you're not getting the food and drinks out promptly and you're not doing it in a courteous manner? But he's not like that. He's back there quiet and nice, and so that's, to me, this makes perfect sense. I believe it. I believe the food's great, but the service sucks.
We need some pirates.
Gotta have some pirates. Well, here's the thing. Here's what's frustrating. That you can control. To a degree, cooking is an art.
Right.
So
the talent's there.
And sometimes you don't have that talent for the art. This guy has it. And so the other part, which is just getting it on time and doing it with a smile, is easy. You can control that. So it's very frustrating, Yeah. And by the way, Brian might be one of the biggest bartender turnarounds I've ever seen.
It was fun to see.
Yeah.
The underdog story.
Yeah, like he really came alive. So that was nice.
You know what? I could see Brian maybe in a year being that manager to.
Well, they have to recognize the need for it.
Yeah,
they have to recognize, like, hey, we're soft in this area and we got to fix it. And I think without Jon, they just may not be proactive. I mean, he just may be one of those guys where he just likes doing his little thing. He's so into the art of it, and he leaves it at that, and it's just not enough.
Definitely. Well, it sounds like we have some interesting updates with Shibo, and we'll keep our eyes on that restaurant because I have faith in them. But we have an episode next week, and I'd love to talk some quick predictions just because we have to talk about what we saw.
Getting the chills.
Getting the chills.
AfterBuzz TV prediction.
If you like crazy, violent, drunk, sexy females, next week seems like it's the episode for you.
You know what? Bar Rescue rocks the high-low.
Totally rocks the high low.
When you think about it.
Yes.
My
And
favorite
we're back
moment.
to my people.
We're
the
back to
low.
My favorite moment was we did in fact see a large-chested lady with a shot glass in her cleavage, ready to be taken by Jon.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll do it?
No! Oh my God, no. He is. I've seen people, drunks, so many drunks walk, Jon is a big fan, and they stick their hand out, and he keeps his hands like right around his stomach, and he just literally looks at them. You know, and
You
just
don't think
says nothing. No.
6 seasons in he wouldn't?
No.
Okay.
No.
I feel like he might.
No. And he criticizes me for liking the wackos and
Does
things.
he?
Yeah. And you think it's funny. Yeah, it's like, and
is a
Maria,
little
by the way,
bit.
and that's why he connects with my wife, Maria Menounos.
She's
'cause
appalled.
She doesn't find it funny either.
We're still watching TV, Jon.
Funny watching it, no, but I'm saying dealing with those people.
sure, I
When
know.
Maria's like, you swim with those people, you think it's like so entertaining. I'm like, well, you know.
For me, there's always that glass screen between me and the action. If I were there, I might feel differently, but it's TV, you know?
I just also think when someone's so far to the extreme, and I have one of the sayings I always implement: comedy must rule.
Yeah.
So when someone's like so bad off, and the situation's so bad and so bleak, and you know they're never gonna change, then I just say, might as well just have fun with this.
It's almost impressive where you're like,
Yes, I'm borderline. You know what? Yeah, I'm impressed now.
I hear you.
And then I like to add gas to the fire.
yeah, it's
You know, so this is where Jon gets mad at me. He doesn't like it. But man, yeah, next week is going to be a pig F of a show. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, super excited.
And we will be here, of course, covering it, guys, Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific. If you want to tune along live, you can hop on to AfterBuzz TV Reality.
You know what, Jeff Scam?
Yes,
We can, I don't know if fans want it, but we can reach out to some of these people.
love it.
Because you know, again, those people were nice, but if we get another wackadoodle,
A little phone call, you know.
yeah.
We will do that. I'm going to do some research, figure out on Twitter, and see if we can make a connection happen.
Right.
And for you listening, tweet out to tune into our coverage because you guys have power as our fandom. And just know, guys, that as our fandom, we love you so much. And I'm going to say it real quickly. We don't only cover Bar Rescue here, guys. We cover a million shows. We cover other cooking shows. We're covering Gordon Ramsay's 24 Hours to Hell and Back, which I think shares a lot of DNA with Bar Rescue.
Well, I think you don't have a Bar Rescue without Gordon
Right.
and his Kitchen Nightmare show.
Absolutely.
The only thing with that show is I don't think you need the 24-hour gimmick.
I don't think
By
so
the way,
either.
I watch it because I love Gordon and I love his transformations, but I don't think you need it to be 24 hours to make me want to tune in.
I agree. And if you guys have opinions about that show,
Yeah.
tune into that after show. We cover comedy, drama.
And I'd also like to hear from people to tell me what do they think the difference is. I've never debated with people, Jon versus Gordon. I feel like, again, Gordon got us to Jon. I think what Jon's done now has made Gordon up his game on the 24-hour show. Because back in the original show, he would just kind of criticize them and their personalities. He would change the menu and then maybe like hang a new painting and be like, yeah, we renovated. And now, because of what Jon's done to such an extreme, he's doing it more on his show.
I love it.
So, but I'd love to hear what people think the difference is. And by the way, do you have any opinions before we check out?
I think, like you said, Gordon allowed a space for Jon. Like, Jon might not exist without Gordon.
Agree.
I think Jon brings a little more heart. I think he brings the hammer, but then he brings the heart. And I think Gordon doesn't always bring the heart.
Really? See, I've seen Gordon bring tons of heart.
Maybe I was watching Kitchen Nightmares as the only...
but in Kitchen Nightmares, I've seen him be such a softie.
Yeah, maybe I haven't
know.
seen enough. The episode that always sticks in my mind is Amy's Baking Company.
Oh, well,
You know we've had her here before, by the way.
no way.
Amy and Sammy have been here before.
No way.
Very proud of that fact.
So listen, that is one of that's right up there with Pirates.
Oh, yeah.
Probably even beyond. Again, iconic episode. But here's the thing: he just lost his mind with them.
He did.
Like Jon did with Pirates, because there was no reasoning with them.
Well, here's what I'll say. In the comments, guys, let us know your thoughts of Jon versus Gordon, because I feel like there's something there. We'll be here next week, guys. Every week, Monday at 2 p.m. We're going to try to get some of these owners here. Kevin, where can they find you on Twitter?
Well, you can find me at Undergaro. Tune into the Tomorrow Show, our podcast. And then, but also, we should go back to asking people to rate and comment on iTunes.
Yes, absolutely.
If you can, for our audio listeners, and to tell a friend. And if you're on video, like us, and then also, I would actually like to hear the Jon versus Gordon.
I would too.
Discussion. Not that it has to be a versus, but I would like to hear the difference, because they're both tough exteriors, softies on the inside, and really smart at what they do.
Absolutely.
Seems like to me.
So you guys can comment below. And again, if you're a podcast listener, you would do that on our YouTube, which is on our AfterBuzz TV reality YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Those 5 stars on iTunes help so much, guys.
One more Taffer takeaway.
Oh, and one more Taffer takeaway.
Is that, and he says this all the time, you're not selling good food or good drinks, you're selling reactions.
Ooh, he did say that today.
Yeah, that's his big thing. And he says that's true of anything you're in business. You're selling a reaction. Kind of interesting, right?
I love it.
So, I don't know. We'll discuss it deeper maybe on another episode.
So if you guys want to react and like this video, we'd really appreciate it. And we will be here next week to cover Bar Rescue. Guys, thanks for tuning in.
Peace.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.